The Newcastle Rugby League annual general meeting was told a reduction in the size of the Knights board was likely to be discussed early next year. The Newcastle Rugby League has 4 members on the board, but it's thought that may be reduced under a restructuring process.
I think it's essential for Rugby League in Newcastle that Newcastle Rugby League have an input into it, but to what number it goes to, well, that'll be determined down the track.
There was only one change to the board of the Newcastle Rugby League, Kevin Schott replacing Paul Slattery, who stood down. The league's financial statement, described as positive, will be made public at a later date. The meeting also rejected a 4-team semi-final series for next season, with the grand final likely to be played on August the 20th. Meantime, a testimonial dinner for retiring manager of the league, Tom Ellis, will be held in February. He stands down on December 16 after 7 years of service. The board is undecided on his replacement.
Well, at this stage we received 32 applicants for the job, and now it's a matter of an advisory board sifting through those applicants and trying to come up with the right answer. And I tell you what, it's going to be a very difficult job and very big shoes to fill.
Senior students from 9 schools in the Newcastle district had their say at a forum in City Hall.
Water pollution, mainly local concerns with Newcastle rather than the global, because it's more important to people if it's around where they live.
The workshops are part of Council's special consultation process, where the community is being asked to help prepare a long-term environmental plan.
It's the world's future, and if we don't look after it, there's going to be nothing for the future generations. So someone's got to start doing something, and that's us.
And they are just so enthusiastic and they have so many ideas, and we can really learn a lot from them, and we're planning to do so today.
Meanwhile, the Environmental Protection Authority launched its latest campaign today, Reversing the Waste Cycle.
Let's minimise the amount of waste that we're creating in the first place, and that then makes the task of dealing with it later on, whether it be by recycling or by appropriately designed landfills. It'll still be a hell of a lot easier if there's less waste to deal with.
The EPA and councils are providing easy hints around the home. Helping to spread the message was radio personality and Novocastrian Mikey Robbins, who believes a lot of rubbish is a serious matter.
You've got to think about the process from the moment you buy it to the moment you throw it away, which means not just recycling, but cutting down waste in general. You know, a complete, like a philosophy, I suppose, is the way of looking at it.
It's been a busy 2 years for Cowan Manufacturing. In early 1993, the company won a $10 million contract with the United States Navy to build 68 recompression chambers. Soon after, the Australian Navy placed an order for 7. The portable units help divers to recover from an attack of the bends and can be carried by helicopter to any location. But the US job didn't come easy.
A lot of things had to be overcome. We had to improve our quality system. We had to work to different rules and regulations, the US government rules and regulations, as well as our Australian standards. But we've overcome the whole lot.
Now employing 30 workers, Cowan Manufacturing was named recipient of this year's Business Club's annual award in recognition of its significant contribution to industry.
You don't go out for recognition, but it's nice to be recognised by your peers.
As each day passes, the anxiety in the Kortevsky household grows.
Time might be the fact that's definitely important. We need as many people as possible in the police. But I also want to let the politician know that if Australia is such a lucky country, and if Australia is such a rich country, why can't they say to us, money wouldn't be the problem if only we can get our daughter back.
Gordana went missing on Thursday night while walking to her aunt's house in Powell Street, Charlestown from the nearby shopping centre around 8:45. A white Toyota Hilux similar to this one was seen leaving the street about that time. Police have established a 16-member task force to compile information received through investigations and on the special hotline number. The Roads and Traffic Authority files have been sourced for registration numbers of all white Hilux utilities.
And from that information, we're then going to be able to identify the owners of those vehicles, and then we'll start to speak to some of those people in relation to where their vehicle was on that night.
Police are making plans to set up a lookalike mannequin of Gordana in Charlestown Square on Thursday night in the hope it will jog someone's memory and provide some vital clues to the 16-year-old's disappearance.
We have some witnesses who already have seen her in Powell Street walking towards her aunt's house, but there must have been a lot of other people in that area.
Catherine Lamond, NBN News. Asthma afflicts many in our community, and the Hunter Centre for Health Advancement is making information about the condition as accessible as your local shopping centre. Through an interactive computerised touchscreen system, people can find answers to issues associated with the problem.
Well, the idea is to provide information to the public, particularly people with asthma, about the disease so that they're better informed and better able to manage their own health.
Answers to asthma questions have been included in health points, special permanent displays containing information about a variety of health issues, including immunisation and blood pressure. These health points have been established at several shopping centres throughout the Lower Hunter over the past year. To help launch the asthma facility, there was a quiz between Katara and Whitebridge High School students and local sporting identities. An inquiry desk was also set up to increase awareness about the condition and instruments used in its treatment. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Today's Pro-Am was an Irish four-ball, with the best two individual Stableford scores combined for an overall aggregate. Each of the 45 groups had one or two of the trainee professionals, many of whom are still unfamiliar with the testing Newcastle layout.
We've actually got 3 Pro-Ams. We've got the sponsors Pro-Am today and the members and associates tomorrow, and every trainee will play in those, and that really is their practice round for the event.
Amongst them were 2 international visitors who are expected to provide Australia's best with some strong opposition come Thursday. Auckland's Dominic Barson is representing the Kiwis this week after winning the New Zealand Futures Tournament, while Japan's Mikio Nodo fired a 3-over par round at his first outing on the course yesterday. He found the course and our mosquitoes a little tougher today, but his interpreter and former Newcastle trainee Michael Jones believes he will be competitive.
The course that he's playing is a hell of a lot different to what he's usually used to in Japan, but given that he's going to have a couple more practice rounds before day one, I'll expect him to make the cut, yeah.
Council says it's prepared to fiercely defend the present structure, which comprises of 12 councillors and the Lord Mayor. The problem is over the interpretation of the new Local Government Act. Unlike other councils, Newcastle operates under its own City Act, which allows for the 12th councillor. But that's one too many, according to the Department of Local Government. Council argues it's fighting to protect the wishes of ratepayers.
Clearly the people of Newcastle have said they want 13 members of council. We've had a poll in 1991 which said that. The council in May of this year reaffirmed that in accordance with the legislation, so we've done everything in accordance with the Act.
Any forced changes could threaten the 4-ward structure proposed for next year's elections. Last night's meeting voted to sort the problem out in the Supreme Court. It's not a cheap exercise, but the General Manager says the action is warranted.
The all-up cost is about $20,000 to deal with it from start to finish, but it is in fact ensuring that the will of the people of Newcastle and the wishes of the people of Newcastle and of the council is tested in the Equity Court.
Council is hoping for an early hearing date and says it's confident the matter will be resolved by late next month. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
It's a long way from Coloranabri to the dance floor, but a group of Central Coast performers is hoping to bridge the gap. For the next 2 Saturday nights, the proceeds from their Priscilla Queen of the Desert inspired cabaret will help out a drought-stricken Coloranabri family and another near Moree.
It's our way of sponsoring them. We're sort of raising the money. We're going to send it up. We've got hampers and Christmas presents and all sorts of things. And I just think it's time for Australians to, you know, do something a little more than just donate $10 here and there. As there are some businesses that could get together and do this sort of thing and actually help out individuals.
Each performer is working free of charge, putting in days of rehearsal to get the show right.
We've rehearsed in people's backyards, in people's garages, you know, anywhere we can. And we have females in the show, which does change the concept of the show a little bit. We've got straight guys in the show as well, so, you know, it's full of everything.
I do come from the country and I do relate to what they're going through out there, and I can't see how a child can get up on Christmas morning and not have a parcel under a Christmas tree.
Instead of the Governor, Rear Admiral Peter Sinclair, inviting the country children to Government House, he took his party to the bush. More than 2,000 children and their families flocked to Moree's Jellicoe Park to take advantage of the chance to temporarily escape the harsh reality of drought. It's an annual event to bring some Christmas cheer to the less fortunate. The Governor taking the bash to the country in recognition of the drought that covers 94% of the state.
There's pain being felt within the community right across the whole length and breadth of country New South Wales. And that's one of the reasons why we're here, really, to show that we do care and that we are concerned.
But those concerns were forgotten today, for a few hours at least, as the children celebrated the approach of the festive season.
And I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Robert Wojak of Tullara was doing a routine tyre change under a dump truck at the Hamilton Railway Repair Depot at midday when one of 2 jacks slipped.
One was high and it just slipped and slipped sideways.
Wojak was trapped for about 10 minutes, his life saved by wooden chocks taking most of the heavy weight. Police and ambulance rescue workers quickly raised the truck by jacks and pulled the man free. He escaped with just a few cracked ribs. Peter Ryan, NBN News. There is a battle brewing off the soccer field. Highfields Azzurri, the region's premiers, are fighting mad. The Northern New South Wales administration wants to change their name.
I couldn't believe here in Australia things like that would happen.
The trouble is the Azzurri tag, the team asked to play only under the name of Highfields. It's been brewing for years, with all soccer clubs asked to delete ethnic titles for next season. The Northern New South Wales Soccer Federation says soccer is a national game, not a game for nationals. A spokesperson said the federation is keen to promote soccer as an Australian sport, and he said there was no need for further comment. Broadmeadow Macedonia becomes Broadmeadow Magic, Hamilton Olympic, the Hamilton Warriors. Highfields Azzurri Sports Club President Basilio Rufo says he's been approached by other clubs to fight the move. Meantime, under protest, his team will play under Highfields. However, he is investigating legal action against the Soccer Federation.
If we need to be, we need to take to the discrimination board, because I think that they are discriminate against non-English words.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Borai House has been open for 2 weeks. Funded by the Department of Community Services, it aims to provide short-term accommodation for homeless teenagers. Taree resident Norm Boyd says many of the street kids who need help will be knocked back because of strict admission guidelines. According to the guidelines, anybody affected by or dependent on drugs or alcohol will be excluded, as well as any young person with a history of violence.
The one that I find most offensive is anyone with a mental or physical disability is not going to be allowed into that refuge. And that's something out of the dark ages.
Borai House is the only crisis refuge between Kempsey and Newcastle. It was closed down in March because of management problems. 10 occupants were sent to Christo House in Port Macquarie. It's now managed by the committee in charge of the Taree Women's Refuge. Norm Boyd's interest in the matter is personal. His son ran away from home and there was nowhere for his son to get the counselling and accommodation he needed in Taree. He says it's been a long wait for the refuge to reopen. At present, Borai House has only one full-time occupant. It has the capacity to house 6. Borai House committee members have refused to comment on the admission guidelines. Tracy Walsh, NBN News. The coordinator of the art exhibition says a new concept was needed to come up with much needed funds to keep the Rudolf Steiner School open. 60 works of art were donated to the cause and tickets sold to Manning residents for $50 each. The tickets guaranteed a piece of art from the exhibition. On Saturday, the names of the ticket holders and the works will be matched up. Both will be drawn out of a hat.
I think the top price, the top value is about $2,200 on one of the works that's come in, and the majority of them are worth in the hundreds.
4 other works will be auctioned on the night. The portraits, abstracts and landscapes have been donated by local and Sydney artists. Enid Cryer says the exhibition is relevant to the Steiner philosophy of education.
Maths, science, geography, history, all of these subjects are taught with an emphasis on a creative approach.
With many of the Hunter juniors, such as Maitland Scott McGrath, as capable on the velodrome as they are on the road, several locals are expected to perform well over the 2 days. The meet is the first step towards state selection for the Nationals in Brisbane next March and is likely to unearth several promising cyclists.
There's going to be more good riders produced out of the country than out of Sydney. So we do see this is a big stepping stone towards state teams to go to Australian Championships.
Like Hadley, Dean Jones returns to the track after some impressive stage results in the Commonwealth Bank Cycle Classic. He'll take part in the pursuit, while junior national champion Christian Back will contest the point score. With the World Masters Games only 2 months ago, Hadley has maintained a solid level of fitness and, while sceptical about his chances in the sprint, believes he'll put up a bold showing in the scratch race.
The scratch race is my specialty. I won the World Masters Games in the scratch race, and my idea is to go as hard as I can and try and blow the legs off everyone else.
As an 18-year-old, Bruce Gulliver ran in Australia's best-known foot race, the Stall Gift. He's won just about every professional sprint in the country except Stall, but has also been robbed of reaching his full potential through an extensive range of debilitating injuries. In desperation, the 31-year-old has turned to science, taking advantage of his workplace chiropractic plus, undergoing rigorous treatment including deep tissue massage.
That seems to be keeping me on the track, and something that I've been 5 months now without an injury, so it virtually means I can reach my potential that I've been working towards for a long time now.
Gulliver recently won the Maxville Gift and took out the Narandra Gift last weekend, earning him a possible meeting with the great Carl Lewis or Linford Christie in the Daewoo Series. Joining him in that challenge is 23-year-old Commonwealth Games silver medalist Paul Henderson, who believes there is plenty of life left in his senior training partner.
He keeps me honest, you know, like it's good. It's good that he keeps me honest. I mean, you've got to really have someone in your group that pushes you as equally as good as you, and, you know, Bruce will surprise a lot of people at the day when, you know, watch out.
I think people like Linford Christie have virtually given people at my age hope to continue on, and it's not necessarily that you finished it at 30. I'm no doubtly by far the best I've ever been at 31, so yeah, I'm going to continue on, hopefully for another couple of years.
Les Mis, smash hit across the globe with a score to tug even the most sceptical critics' heartstrings. And give they have to a director who firmly believes in taking on board suggestions.
People say the director's job is the power-hungry, you know, egomania person, and in some cases that's true, but my job is to mould it all together.
Putting a musical together has made a switch for Matthew, who is more accustomed to dealing with scoreless productions.
I'm more theatre-based, where you know, you don't have the constant medium of music, and it's a different type of performer that gives a straight theatrical role than a musical performer.
Among the performers are some of the Hunter's best, many familiar faces. The show opens for a 2-week season at the Civic Theatre tomorrow night.
permission to give a larger dose of morphine than in the protocols, requesting permission to give.
Send someone back to the truck.
Going slowly. Come through. Hold it forward. That's it. That'll do. Nice and slow, nice and slow. Kind of myself.
Victorian Mark Batten led the charge to the top, firing an even par 72 with some magic shots around the green. Overnight leader Ken Druce couldn't reproduce yesterday's sensational form, struggling to stay within touch of the main pack. The wind also troubled New Zealand champion Dominic Barson, who carded a disastrous 7 over 79. But their playing partner Matthew Barrett defied the trend to produce the shot of the day. Darren Eckhart also produced some stunning golf, but even with shots like this, he couldn't stay in touch with the leaders. It was the Victorians who stole the show, with 3 in the top 5 going into the third round tomorrow. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Once a barren block 5 years ago, Budgewoi School is a little piece of paradise. 2,000 trees have been planted, countless hours of hard work, $50,000 spent on the environment. Most of the money from within the school and the local community.
We have something very unique and innovative here, but the most important thing of all is the education that it provides for our children. And the change in their attitudes, I think, is the most wonderful thing that's come out of this.
And it seems people are starting to take notice. Last year the school won the Director General's Achievement Awards and the Wyong Shire's Garden of the Year. On Saturday night they defeated 200 finalists from across the state for the Tidy Town Schools Environment Award.
It's great. I think we deserved it because we've been so working hard in here.
The students are kept busy with their wetlands, their rainforest and their gardens, and then there's their recycling plant. Green not just in experience, but also by nature. Peter Ryan, NBN News. It will be the major engineering company's first export of rolling stock technology, a $20 million contract working with one of the world's largest companies.
We're not only designing for General Electric in USA, but also manufacturing for them for both Indonesia and Thailand. I think that's the start of what's going to be a long-term relationship.
A majority of the work will be undertaken at Guninan's Taree plant, where 12 operator cabs and 76 bogies or wheels for the locos will be built. The contract is a guarantee for jobs there. It's been a testing year for Guninan. With the slowing down of the giant Tangara contract, 100 people have had to be laid off. But the company is hoping with new contracts it can put more people back in work. Last month, the company won a $12 million contract to build wagons for the National Rail Corporation. It's just bid on a $300 million deal to build locomotives for NRC. Work is also up for grabs refurbishing 900 passenger cars in Sydney for the Olympics.
Excellent prospects, and if we win everything we're talking about, we certainly are confident we're going to win the majority of it. It'll be an increase in our workforce next year.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Matthew John's outstanding season this year didn't go unnoticed, as several clubs have been attempting to secure his services for 1996 and beyond.
I'm pretty sure I'll stay here, but I'm not willing to tie myself down too long into the future, just because the uncertainty with the Super League and a couple other things, I'd be silly to jump into it, so a bit of thinking time before I do anything.
Contracted to Newcastle for next year, Manly and Australian coach Bob Fulton has expressed an interest in Johns, particularly with veteran Cliff Lyons nearing the end of his career.
I had to talk to them. I was impressed how professional they were, but by the same token, I think we've got a good setup here, and I'm quite confident in the next couple of years we could win a premiership here, and I want to be part of it. So I consider myself a local bloke, and I don't want to leave here, really.
Matthews and Andrew are both tremendous players, and I see the club looking for the services for a long way down the track, and I'm pretty confident about they're remaining at Newcastle.
Meantime, the Knights were in New Zealand last week recruiting. Confident Tawara Nikau and another Kiwi will be joining their ranks.
One guy in particular, obviously I can't mention their names before anything's finalised, but there's a fairly substantial offer being put forward, and I'm just waiting to hear from him now.